Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Linda Susan Ulrich. My pronouns are they, them. And I just wanted to let you know that today we were a little concerned about the weather and perhaps icy roads. And so some of our people are going to be participating via Zoom. There are a few of us here in the sanctuary, so please be patient with us as we figure out this wintry mix of how we're presenting worship today. Thank you.
Not leave, not lose stuff. It would make these times.
Good morning. I'm Pamela Miller, here today representing the Social Justice Council. The goal of Love Talks is to engage USNHers in the social justice work of the congregation and to welcome everyone, young and old, every week to join us in some climate change, LGBTQ+, gun violence prevention, women empowerment, immigration, anti-racism, or justice-seeking action or activity that is happening at USNH or in the broader community. We have 3 minutes to radically welcome the congregation members to join specific faith and action activities that they might participate in with one another. The Social Justice Council members believe that the shift to this type of announcement format was warranted because of these times are challenging in so many ways. We need to reach out and re-engage one another in the spiritual and hands-on social justice work so desperately needed in 2022. Since the onset of the pandemic, our social justice activities have confronted a number of challenges. Organizations like Columbus House have changed their format, and we cannot gather at USNH to prepare pies or hold parties for folks at Waverly or gather for Hope's Nest. Consequently, some task forces are less active. Others are working with Connect and its affiliates, and new groups have sprung up despite the logistical challenges of the pandemic to address more urgent issues like voting rights. Many of you are doing exciting and important social justice work in the larger community. We value this work and invite you to share this work with the congregation. You can share through email alerts or a Love Talk. For action alerts, send email to sjan@usnh.org. If you're not already included on this distribution list, please email office@usnh.org to request that your email address be added to the list. If you would like to give a Love Talk, don't hesitate to email socialjustice@usnh.org. We will be glad to work with you to schedule a Love Talk for your area of interest. As an additional outreach to the congregation, a survey will soon be distributed to help us determine how we, the Social Justice Council, can best support you in the spiritual work of justice seeking. This will include questions about anti-racism, environmental justice, voting rights, and reproductive rights, as well as new concerns you may have. Please share your thoughts with us to help plan how we can best serve you in the coming months. We all need help to maintain our energy in difficult times. We hope that this sharing will make people feel pride and feel empowered that they are part of a faith community that is striving and taking action to make life more just for everyone.
Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Society of New Haven. My name is Jeanette Faber. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I am a member of the Worship Committee. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are in your life's journey, you are welcome here. We are a diverse, multi-generational faith community that inspires lives of compassion and generosity, nurtures spiritual growth, cultivates transformative connections, and creates a more just world. This is a congregation that believes that Black Lives Matter, that every person has the right to affirm their gender, identity, and expression, and that all people are inherently worthy. Let us acknowledge that we gather today on the ancestral lands of the Quinnipiac people. We commit ourselves to the action it takes to heal the wounds of the past and the present in the ongoing work of reconciliation, love, and justice. If we have newcomers, you're invited to join a Zoom after the service where you can meet members of the membership team. I'm not exactly sure what the link is. It might be usnh.org/social hour, but if anybody in the Zoom can type the correct link, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
The call to worship today is called Intentions and Trust by Amy Lloyd. Today, I want to greet joy without a trace of suspicion. I want to open my eyes to the light without a blink of dread. I want to look at my past without a whisper of shame. I want to look at my future without a hint of fear. Today, I want to dance without pausing to think. I want to belly laugh without caring who hears. I want to open my arms and twirl in the sun until I fall breathless, free to be myself, full of the joy that I allow to open, completely letting go, without even a smudge of suspicion or a wink of hesitation. That's my intention. It's what I want.
We light this chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. We light it to summon hope, hope that quells the deadening pall of the world's brokenness. We light this chalice to remind ourselves that living into the fullness of our humanity inspires us to love, serve, and heal. Covenant lies at the center of how Unitarian Universalists gather in community. We are not united by a particular set of beliefs, but by the promises we make about how we will be together, how we will treat each other, and how we will seek to mend relationships when we fall short of our aspirations. Please join me now in reciting the words that appear in the chat on the live stream. We covenant together to create and nurture a culture of respect and kindness, to engage in the spiritual and everyday practice of loving more generously. To this end, we will strive to be open, value differences, listen deeply, use kind language, speak our truths, work with conflict, and seek humor and joy.
is our hands and feet, that we are not yet fully wise, that we are in the making still, as friends who share one enterprise, and strive to blend with nature's will. What though the future long delay, and still with faults we daily cope, it gives us that for which to pray, a field for toil and faith and hope. Since what we choose is what we are, and what we love we yet shall be, the goal may ever shine afar, the will to reach it makes us free.
Our congregation's joys and sorrows. We have two today. Christine Smith shares that her daughter, Haley, had abdominal surgery to remove a cyst on January 6th. She asks that we send prayers, good wishes, and healing energy for a smooth recovery. My own sorrow, please hold my Aunt Celeste, my deceased father's only sister, whose funeral is tomorrow. Hold her, please, and her family in your prayers. If anyone in our community has a joy to share or a sorrow that you'd like us to hold, please chat that in the chat in the live stream.
I invite you into a spirit of meditation, prayer, or contemplation of ultimate things. The text for the meditation today comes from the Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman. Keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve. Despite the dullness and barrenness of the days that pass, if I search with due diligence, I can always find a deposit left by some former radiance. But I had forgotten. At the time, it was full-orbed, glorious, and resplendent. I was sure that I would never forget. I had forgotten how easy it is to forget. There was no intent to betray what seemed so sure at the time. My response was whole, clean, authentic. But little by little, there crept into my life the dust and grit of the journey. Details, lower-level demands, all kinds of cross-currents. Nothing momentous, nothing overwhelming, nothing flagrant, just wear and tear. If there had been some direct challenge, a clear-cut issue, I would have fought it to the end and beyond. In the quietness of this place, surrounded by the all-pervading presence of God, my heart whispers, keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve, that in fair weather or in foul, in good times or in tempests, in the days when the darkness and the foe are nameless or familiar, may I not forget that to which my life is committed. Let us hold together some moments of silence.
Good morning. My name is Cindy Chalkin, and I'm here to talk about stewardship from a personal perspective today. I'll never forget the impact of my 9th grade social studies teacher who dared to talk about social and racial injustice in a small, segregated Illinois community in the 1960s. While I don't remember the content of his messages, the impact for me was strong. He lit a fire which has never lost its flame. Career choices, community activities, teaching our children together with my activist late husband, all were guided by our shared vision of greater justice. When I retired and moved from Wisconsin to Connecticut to be closer to my 2 adult children, I wondered how I could find connections with like-minded activists at this time in my life. Well, USNH has been the gift that keeps on giving. I have so much respect for the depth and breadth of all of our justice-oriented programs and activities, including the continuing commitment and creativity of so many during the pandemic. I've read that Unitarian Universalism uses 4 major approaches to building a better world. Social service, responding to immediate needs. Social education, we commit to learning even when it's painful. Social witness, think about Connect and postcards to voters in our worship services. And social action to address the causes of injustice. USNH gives me and all of us countless opportunities to participate. For me, as much as my hearing loss and family responsibilities have allowed. And so I'm inspired to give what I can in my annual pledge and my weekly plate donations, which I send monthly via bank drafts, in support of values I've held dear for decades. And I'm grateful to be a part of this caring congregation where, as UU Reverend Eric Wickstrom put it, when we do the work of this congregation, we touch lives. When we touch lives, we change the world.
Perhaps your life is one of the ones that's been changed by this congregation. If so, I hope that you will give as generously as you can. You can go to our website, which is usnh.org, and follow the donation links there. You can also send a check made out to USNH to 700 Hartford Turnpike, Hamden, Connecticut, 06517. Your generosity makes everything that we do possible. It helps transform lives, transform the world, and transform, I hope, you. Thank you for your generosity.
Today's reading was written by Rabbi Sylvia Rothschild, and it is entitled, Zusia, Why Were You Not More Like Zusia? Martin Buber tells the story of the great Hasidic rabbi Zusia. On his deathbed, he began to cry uncontrollably, and his students and disciples tried to comfort him. They asked him, Rabbi, why do you weep? You are almost as wise as Moses. You are almost as hospitable as Abraham, and surely heaven will judge you favorably. Zusia answered them, it is true. When I go to heaven, I won't worry so much if God asks me, Zusia, why were you not more like Abraham? Or Zusia, why were you not more like Moses? I know I would be able to answer these questions. After all, I was not given the righteousness of Abraham or the faith of Moses, but I tried to be both hospitable and thoughtful. But what will I say when God asks me, Zusia, why were you not more like Zusia? As a teenager, I had a Peanuts cartoon which had Linus complain, there is no heavier burden than a great potential. Like all those cartoons, there was great wisdom in those funny sideways comments. But the reality is each of us has great potential, and we need to think about the answer we might give to the question Rabbi Zusia feared so much. Every human being has unique capacity to add to the world. Each of us can bring love and goodness, creativity, thoughtfulness, human warmth. We don't need all the great scholars. We don't need to be great scholars or rise to the top of our profession. We each have potential to be fully present in the world, fully open to the possibilities of relationship with the other. We make our choices every day, waking, as the morning prayer reminds us, with a pure soul that was given to us by God. As we continue to live out our days, how shall we be more fully our best selves?
Stop worrying where you're going. Move on. If you can know where you're going, you've gone. Just keep moving on. I chose and my world was shaken. So what? The choice may have been mistaken. The choosing was not. You have to move on. Look at what you want, not at where you are, not at who you'll be. Look at all the things you've done for me. Opened up my eyes, taught me how to see, notice every tree, understand the light, concentrate.
I want to move on. I want to explore the light. I want to find how to get through to something new, something of my own. Move on. Move on. Stop worrying if your vision is new. Let others make that decision. They usually do. You keep moving on. Look at what you've done.
Something in the light,
Not at what you
something
want,
in the sky,
not at where you
in the
are,
grass,
what you'll
up
be.
behind the tree.
Look at all the things you gave to me.
Things I hadn't
Let me
looked
give
at
to
till
you
now.
something
Flower in your hat
return.
and your smile
I would be so
and the color of your hair and the way you catch the light and the care and the feeling and the life moving on.
always belong together.
just keep moving on. Anything you do, let it come from you, then it will be new. Give us more to see.
That was gorgeous, thank you. Last week, one of the rituals we engaged in as a community was to set intentions for 2022. Perhaps yours took the form of a single word, a short phrase, an encouraging affirmation, or a compelling image. Something that can act as a guide throughout the year, reorienting you to your aspirations as many times as you need. And there's a reason we need our intentions to be so resilient. It's all too easy to fall away from them as we go about living. And I don't say this from a place of judgment, by the way. I get just as caught up in making it through my day-to-day responsibilities as anybody else. That tension between the world as it is, the world as we are, and the world as we would shape it, will always be there. The question becomes how we navigate the gap. The text from Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman in today's meditation spoke to this tension. "I had forgotten how easy it is to forget," he wrote. "There was no intent to betray what seemed so sure at the time. My response was whole, clean, authentic. But little by little, there crept into my life the dust and grit of the journey. Details, lower-level demands, all kinds of cross-currents. Nothing momentous, nothing overwhelming, nothing flagrant, just wear and tear." Personally, I find it comforting that even a modern mystic like Dr. Thurman needed to remind himself to keep fresh before him the moments of his high resolve. An intention is a lot like the values that undergird a mission statement, actually. It helps you decide how and where to direct your time and energy. We can't be all things to all people, so how do we choose? We can't do it individually nor collectively. This is where the concept of the nested bowls comes in handy. I learned about it from Laura Park at Unity Consulting, who also worked with this congregation a while ago. Imagine 3 bowls stacked inside each other. The outermost bowl, the one that holds everything else, is our values, the transcendent, timeless qualities that we seek to embody in all we do. They're things like courage and compassion and authenticity. Maybe some of you even chose those words for your 2022 intention. It only feels like 2020 still. But you can get a sense of how these values operate by looking at the same task through different lenses. For example, someone may want to spend more time in their garden because they're fascinated by the way seeds develop, with an underlying value of wonder. Another person might want to spend more time in their garden because they never tire of flowers unfurling in a riot of color, an outgrowth of valuing beauty. Or perhaps the person is all about growing their own food, indicating a value of independence. Each one has different implications that can guide our actions. After all, a crop that fails to grow may fascinate or may intrigue the wonder person, while devastating the independence one. The next nested bowl is mission, which flows from the values. In a congregation, the mission answers questions like, if we live fully into our values, what is our transcendent purpose? What overarching difference are we here to make, and for whom? Park points out that missions don't talk about programs and activities, but about the ways in which the congregation will change lives. Now, here at USNH, our mission is that we're a diverse, multi-generational faith community that inspires lives of compassion and generosity, nurtures spiritual growth, cultivates transformative connections, and creates a more just world. These are big ideas and big aspirations, and they're meant to be. As Park put it, the mission is a call to the future that inspires continual effort and constant renewal and reinterpretation. Which brings us to the third bowl in the metaphor, the ends. What more specific, measurable difference will we make, and for whom? This is where the proverbial rubber meets the road. Now that you've determined what's important to you, how will you make it real? So just as when congregations focus on their values, mission, and ends, when we as individuals focus on our intentions, the rewards can be remarkable. Here's an example from my own life. Back in 2008, 2009, I recorded an album called Consequences of Seeing in the Dark. As I started planning for it, an intention suddenly made itself known. The album should take the form of a healing ritual in its shape and energy. It's not something you necessarily recognize when listening, but I always kept it in mind, from picking the order of the songs to nailing down the instrumentation for each piece. Now, over the course of the recording sessions, I got to work with folks who are both brilliant musicians and some of my favorite human beings. Guest musicians enriched the arrangements further. I had the phenomenal experience of trusting and delighting in the creativity of the people I'd brought together, while still holding fast to my vision for the songs. Now, looking back, the values in the project's outermost bowl were healing, collaboration, and joy. The mission was to express truths and create a transformational experience, both for the listeners and the musicians. And the end was an album that I really, really love, even all these years later. I didn't sell many copies, but I consider the whole thing an unqualified success. By the way, I also realized that the main beneficiary of that healing ritual was me. In the end, it brought beautiful closure to the period of my life when I was trying to make music my career, and created space for whatever was to come next. It only occurred to me much, much later that there was just a 3-month gap between the release of Consequences of Seeing in the Dark and discerning my call to ministry. Of course, we shouldn't be deceived into thinking that intention tells the whole story on its own. There's also impact. And we've talked about this before around racism and microaggressions, where someone might say something that isn't intended to be harmful. Indeed, it may even be intended as a compliment, but that causes harm nonetheless. I like to use the analogy of a kid playing baseball in the backyard and accidentally breaking the neighbor's window. The kid didn't mean to do it, but they're still responsible for getting the glass replaced. Intention requires action to be fulfilled. But action isn't always easy to achieve for a wide array of reasons. Maybe you're a parent of young kids where just getting a shower once in a while feels like a victory. Maybe you live with depression. where just getting a shower every once in a while feels like a victory. Maybe you don't have money. I mean, I was lucky that I earned enough at my day job to undertake my passion project on the side, but the whole process took a while. The moments when action is thwarted in some way, the hiccups, the delays, the bumps in the road, that's when you circle back to intention to keep you going. Now, some of those hiccups are unavoidable, but what about the obstacles we put in our own way? Why do we let the details, lower level demands, all kinds of cross currents, wear and tear, take precedence over the aspirations that would make our hearts sing? Why is it easy to forget that to which our lives are committed? I think all of the answers ultimately boil down to fear in one form or another. Fear of not achieving our goals, fear of finding out our grand dream isn't what we'd hoped it might be, fear of showing how unworthy we are, fear of owning how spectacular we are. And here's where intention again helps us navigate. We may keep getting caught on these shoals of fear, but we can be lifted by the tide of possibility. What if we did achieve our goals and they're even more grand than we'd imagined? What if we're not unworthy at all, but instead a source of joy? What if we recognize the tragedy of leaving our life's purpose unfulfilled, like Rabbi Zusia in today's reading? What if following your intention helped you be more like you? As we heard in the anthem, I chose and my world was shaken. So what? The choice may have been mistaken. The choosing was not. Anything you do, let it come from you. Let the intentions you set come from you, the deepest, most earnest, most loving, most you part of you. May the choosing itself be a blessing, even when the outcome doesn't look like other people's definition of success. And as Dr. Thurman put it, in fair weather or in foul, in good times or in tempests, in the days when the darkness and the foe are nameless or familiar, may we not forget that to which our lives are committed. Amen, and blessed be.
Architects of fate, working in these walls of time, some with massive deeds and great, some with ornaments of rhyme. For the structure that we raise, time is with materials filled, and today's and yesterdays are the blocks which we build. Build today then strong and sure, with a firm and ample base, and ascending and secure, shall tomorrow find its place.
Please join me saying the words to extinguish our flame. The words I hope are in the chat. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I close with words from Windleberry. It may be that when we no longer know what to do, we have come to our real work. And that when we no longer know which way to go, we have come to our real journey. The mind that is not baffled is not employed. The impeded stream is the one that sings. Let us go forth, friends, with courage and with kindness, to be a blessing to this broken and beautiful world. Amen.